This will be part two. So let's talk about politics for a moment because it's sort of unavoidable, especially if you live in the United States and even if you don't, because I participate in World Talk on TikTok, and many countries around the world, especially here in Europe, are concerned and interested about what's happening here in the US. So first things first, I these are my political views right here. And my first political view is this: people first, money second, things third. People first, money second, things third. My second political view is there is no us, there is no them, there is only the one. So what does that mean? It means that what I do to you, I do to myself, that everything affects everything else. So, you know, breaking it down to the micro, I try to be as kind as I can. I try to be as generous as I can. I try to be as loving as I can. Love doesn't always say yes. Sometimes love says no. But I try to put out why those types of vibes. Why? Because I'm selfish. I want it to come back to me, and that's how energy and that's how it works in this consciousness, that everything we do touches another. And the more we increase our own magnetism and the more we put into the consciousness at large, the better for everyone. It's just, and if, I come from a philosophy that if one group is suffering, we're all suffering. It's not compartmentalized. So those are my political views. Now, as it pertains to a lot of the drama that's happening in the United States, I don't my security doesn't lie in Washington, D.C. It never has, whether or not the person I vote for gets into office. And this is a conversation I have a lot with people, mainly around money, because people will often reach out to me after they've read my book, The Energy of Abundance, and they want to work on their money space. And they got I want security. And I'm like, okay, well, security doesn't come from money because whether you have 50 million or $50, it's really a state of mind how wealthy you believe you are. I mean, often when people have wealth, they worry about losing it. Oh, not all people, but this is I have some money. Oh my God, I have to keep it. What's going to happen if I lose it? That's a form of scarcity in its own. And sometimes there's people who can have $5 in their pocket and not a care in the world and feel like the world is their oyster, so to speak. So it's an inside job as it pertains to money. But security for me is my relationship to the greater reality because human beings are flawed. The greater reality is not. So when you develop that relationship with greater reality, it will always come through if you understand and have a relationship. Most people don't have a relationship. And I'm also writing a lot about this right now. We are spiritually bankrupt. We try to follow rules, which sometimes help us get into a space where we can begin to hear and be with divinity. But many of us are spiritually bankrupt and we think security is outside of us. Okay. That's where I'm coming from as I approach these topics. Um, I am always sensitive to people suffering. I don't care who they are. If you're suffering, we all suffer in this life. Everybody suffers. It's just how you're going to suffer and how much and when, and this is life. And so this is why we develop strength and the ability to garner perspective and learn how to make lemonade out of lemons. And in the Course of Miracles would probably refer to this as holiness, meaning that we turn every experience into something that is working for us. And this year, so much is happening in the United States, and there's the threats, what people say are the threats of fascism, authoritarianism, losing democracy. First of all, I don't believe democracy will fall. When I look into the month of May, it's still intact. However, I do have something I want to say about that statement. The first is democracy has been failing for a long time. From my point of view, it's not just this last month and a half. And what I would say about that is democracy essentially, from my understanding, is a majority rules. The majority rules. Well, we see often in presidential elections in the United States that the person who gets the most votes does not get to win the election. That's kind of an interesting concept. We have the Electoral College in the United States. But the other things that are not so uh, heavily charged are you think about women's reproductive rights in the United States. About 74% of Americans want reproductive rights for women. And the government says, nah, no. Uh, haven't the people said what they want? No, we're doing away with that. Or about 82% of the population says, yes, I'm open to some sensible gun control laws. The government, no, uh-uh, I don't think so. Okay, so the majority is speaking, but the government is tone deaf. And this has been going on for quite some time. So, from a cursory point of view, it's to me, it is obvious why these things are happening at this time. And it's been going on for as long as I can see, at least 15 years. And all you have to do is look up the donations and the donors to your specific representatives or any of them one by one. There's 535 representatives in the House of Representatives Congress, and you can see who funds their campaigns. And the majority, probably about 80 to 85% Democrats and Republicans are beholden to special interests, meaning not only do only a handful of them subsist on private small donors, meaning $200 or under, but many get large donations from corporations. And here's the kicker. Those corporations, they hold stock, personal stock in those companies. So they have a personal interest in that corporation doing well. Ugh. And to me, this is why our elected officials have no autonomy. This is why they are tone deaf and deaf to the American people's wishes. And I think this is spurred on why we're angry, why people are angry and they want real change. They want to see change. So things are breaking right now. Everything's getting broken, and it's not without pain and suffering. But there's already been a lot of pain and suffering. But you as an individual, me as an individual, we can only do what we can do, and it's enough. You have to know that it's enough. These problems are gigantic. But you know what? We're in this time of revolution, of movement, of regeneration, of a time of rebirth. This is a time when things get to rebuild themselves. Be part of the rebuilding. Don't you don't want to stand by and cry while the building is being demolished. It's being demolished. But say, how am I going to rebuild? What's it going to look like now? How do I want it to look? So we get an incredible opportunity to do that. It's pretty exciting because people are awake now. People are awake. Yay. And awakeness is sort of the first step to becoming not spiritually bankrupt. If we're not awake to what's really happening, then it's pretty difficult to become connected to a greater reality, which is ultimately what we're trying to do because security is not external. So all these things, to me, I see there's a rhythm and there's a purpose and there's a point to everything that's happening. And I think all of us will see it too. And as we get to the end of 2025, we're going to be going, wow, look at the year we've had. Holy crap, there's never been anything like this before. And I got to be part of it. right? So this is my political point of view, but now I want to talk about something that I do want you to pay attention to as we go through these incredible times, certainly in the United States and around the globe, because everything the United States does affects the world. So let's talk about what I really want you to pay attention to in part three.